Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at another ugly. This one comes to us from Kraken's Threat Dossier. So we have the Corellian B-wing ugly, which is essentially a little bit more than flying junk, made up from the cockpit of a Corellian stocklight freighter, bolted onto the fuselage of a B-wing. This type of craft typically sees action only among cash-poor pirates. The latest refinement of the B-wing ugly is the addition of a ground-based anti-infantry turbo laser cannon bolted onto the undercarriage of the ship. While this hardly qualifies as military-grade space weaponry, it is sufficient to damage lightly shielded cargo vessels, the primary mission profile for most pirate craft. So, um, of course, this is a patchwork starfighter scale. It is 16.9 meters. And I'm going to say that it's probably rating that off the length with the boom and everything, not off of the depth of it, if I'm kind of articulating that correctly. All right, so we have a crew of one and a gunner of one. We have 6 passengers all crammed into the cockpit there. We have cargo capacity of 65 kilograms. We have enough consumables for about a week. Because we do have the B Wing, this has a hyperdrive of a times 2 with only a 2 jump limitation. It has a maneuverability of 1D plus 1. This is not very agile. I'm going to say probably because we have a little extra weight with the Corellian cockpit on the one end, and the fact that it's the biggest basis for the B wing really was the fact that um, the wing itself could rotate around the cockpit to give it the extra maneuverability, and we've lost all of that here. And in the D6 version of Star Wars, there are rules for that. If you do lose that stabilizing portion of the cockpit where the wing can rotate around, you do actually lose maneuverability, if I do remember correctly. We do have a space of 6 atmosphere flight. We are at 950 kilometers an hour. We have a hull of 2D, so about average. Shields of 2D, so the shields are kind of on average pretty good for a cobbled together fighter. Um, and then, of course, our sensor packet. So we can scan passively out to 3 kilometers, actively scan out to 5 kilometers. We can do search for 7.5 kilometers, any focus of 400 meters. And of course, we have listed here our anti-infantry turbo laser. So we have a fire control of 2D and it does 4D damage. Now, this is vehicle blaster. This is vehicle scale, so speeder scale, really. Um, this is one of the later books, so when they were starting to rename some of the scales or whatever. Um, and that's the whole big issue, whenever you're trying to do um, new editions of a game or whatever, do you keep it the same, keep calling it the same thing, or do you change the terminology of certain things so it kind of better fits your new views of how you should do it? I've always kept it at speeder because everybody understands, like Luke Skywalker's speeder or anything else. Um, and we're talking about Star Wars. Now, if I was to bring this into my Star Wars G.I. Joe-ish kind of campaign or whatever, maybe if you want to say instead of speeder scale, call everything vehicle scale, that's fine. Um, but because I'm trying to bring that into Star Wars, I want that realization that it is part of the Star Wars greater universe. I will still keep speeder in that, and that's why I always do that in mine. Um, if you're to take any of the stuff I throw out at you, like from the GI Joe, or if I go into some other genres, and you want to make it your own, that is a-okay with me. I have no illusions that I am some gatekeeper of any sort to say this has to be whatever. That's why whenever we look at this stuff and we have the fun with it, you know, I'm bringing you what we have, and then my explanation of what I feel it is, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. You know, you can always debate me in the comments. I'm not arguing that I'm right, and I sometimes see very valid points of things that other people bring up. Um, and we all have to kind of go in those directions. I mean, which way do we want to say is right, and which way do we want to say is well, maybe not. So, you know, that's where I come from. So, a shorter video on this, an interesting craft, a very good starter craft. I mean, this is another good ship to throw out at a group to say, hey, you're starting off. We gave you this junk heap of a ship that can get you started. Not to say that we couldn't upgrade some of the things, maybe kick off the anti-infantry turbo laser cannon, or maybe we mount on two other cannons onto the wingtips of our um, S foils. Um, so there's always options there. Uh, but you know, like I said, it's a great starting base to say, hey, you can have a group that's together. They're not in debt. They can get going, and then we can see where things go from there. But and it is, okay, a standard hull and shields. Yeah, okay. Throw them out against some other uglies, or some other light craft, or maybe even just throw them out at something else that's not really going to do a lot of wear and tear on the ship itself. So um, I hate letting characters or my my group build up a ship and then have it destroyed on them. And they kind of know it. I don't, because like I said, we hope to get together once a month, and I think it's going to be like 2 or 3 months before we get together again. So, um, life happens. So I like to keep it kind of loose on the rules, uh, so everyone's having fun. The silliness that ensues, and sometimes we just get the biggest laughs out of the silliness that happens. So that's where we are. Wonderful ship to show you. Hope you enjoy this series. As always, it's a pleasure to be able to bring it to you. Bring out other ships that we don't typically get to see. So, with that, we'll see you.